Welcome back to Bless Your Heart, I'm Talking. This is your host, Zeta, and this is a bonus episode again. So I had mentioned before I was going to do a bonus episode of some cowboy poetry, and I did that, and it was well received, and I really appreciate everybody listening and enjoying it. So I might do 2 or 3 of them total. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But these are the ones I'm reading right now are just the ones that I wrote for the cowboy poetry event that I did back in March. And so I had a lot of requests to hear them. So that's the only reason I'm doing. And if it goes well enough, I'll do more. Or if I have to write some more for another event, then maybe I'll read them at that time. So most of these are about me or my family. I have one that's a story, and that'll be a different episode because it's a pretty long one, and I kind of got to find it. I write notes just all over the damn place, I'm thinking. So I got to figure out which notepad that one's in. So I had a little notepad from whenever I did the event where I wrote everything, and some of them didn't make the notepad because I wrote them other places, and I had them folded up in here, and I don't know. Y'all, ADHD, this is where it goes. And so I'm just going in order that I wrote it, basically, and it's kind of all over the place. But if you've listened to the podcast before, here's a quick rundown about me and my life, okay? So I am 50 years old, and my parents were from the country but had moved to Austin in the 70s and raised my brother and I among the hippies. We lived in communes in Austin, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Natchez, Mississippi. I have experienced very much the country life and the hippie life. And particularly in the beginning, it was more hippie. And so I write about it. So that's what the story's about. Are they all 100% factual? No. But most of them are rooted in truth, but they're not. Obviously, you got to make things rhyme. And I have one about Rick and I that I'm reading today, and I obviously did not introduce my children to Rick the day I met him. And that is what it says in the poem. I just want you to know. But that's how, things got to rhyme. So this is how we're working with it. So I hope you enjoy them. If you're not down for poetry and this isn't an episode for you, that's fine. Just listen to one of the other ones. I have my regular ones that come out on Mondays, and the poetry ones are just kind of whenever it happens. But we'll see how that works out. Anyway, so here we go. The first one is called Hank and Mom, and if you have ever heard me talk about my mom, and I'm sure you have, if you listen to this, then you know I'm going to reference my mom loved her some Hank Williams, Hank Sr., Hank Jr. She loved them both, but particularly Hank Sr., and I grew up listening to him. I could sing you any song of his my whole life. That's what we listened to. But particularly Jambalaya, she would listen to it when she was cooking it, but she would listen to it all the time. But when she was cooking it, she would sing to us, and we would all sing, and, it was just a thing. And I now have her handwriting from her recipe card for jambalaya across my foot. And it's literally my mom's handwriting, jambalaya. That's the word, across my foot. And it's my favorite tattoo. And so it's kind of a thing my brother and sister and mom and I shared with each other. So this one's called Hank and Mom. Mom would sit by the old screen door, boots kicked up, glass on the floor, ice cubes clinking, whiskey neat, Hank Williams playing, soft and sweet. She'd hum at first, just nice and slow, and then with each sip, her voice would rise, a little bit off key, but full of pride. I'm so lonesome I could cry. She'd belt out arms lifted high. Neighbors knew, the dog sure did too. Even the crickets sang right through. By the third song, she'd start to sway, making the bottle feel light as hay. Singing jambalaya at full-blown speed, like Hank himself was taking the lead. We'd laugh, we'd howl, we'd clap along, till Mama forgot half the damn song. Lord knows she loved them country tunes, whiskey and Hank beneath the moon. And even now, when the night winds sigh, I swear her singing jambalaya. The next one I kind of thought about because I did live on a commune in Baton Rouge, and I have a lot of connection to Louisiana. I feel, you just feel connected to something. It is the Cajun culture because a lot of the hippies I grew up with were Cajun, and that was how I started life. Like I lived with them. So I was blessed with that part. At one point in this poem, I wrote something that my godmother's friend used to say to me that was Cajun, and I don't know how to say it right. It's going to sound funny, and I spelled it out the best I could, but that's the best you're getting. So sorry. I apologize, y'all. I apologize. I'm Texan. So this one is Cowboy Lost in Louisiana. I saddled up and tipped my hat. I left Texas flat. Imagine that. The dust and the cacti in my view, replaced by swamps and gators too. I crossed the line to Louisiana, thought I'd meet myself a sweet savan, but Lord, the air was thick as stew, and everything just smelled of rue. Back in Texas, steaks were grand. Here they ate crawfish with their hands. I walked into a cowboy bar, or at least I thought it was so far. Instead of country, they played some jazz. These folks were dancing, and I was aghast. I ordered a whiskey neat. The bartender grinned and said, "How sweet," and they poured some drink and called it a hurricane. One sip in my boots, they took the strain. Don't get me started on that talk. Folks here don't say y'all. They let words walk. Laissez les bons tempes rouler. It sounded like a damn spell, and I backed away, real scared. So here I stand in bayou land. No tumbleweeds, just muddy sand. The folks are kind and the food's a treat, but I miss my cows and that Texas heat. So that was this next one is called The Last True Cowboy. So here you go. The last true cowboy. The dust rolls high on the crimson sky as a lone hoof beats fade and die. A weathered hand, a steady rain, rides the range through sun and rain. Once they were many, proud and free, driving cattle from sea to sea. Now fences rise where the wild winds blew. And the last time the cowboy rides on through, his hat is stained with years gone by, his gaze as sharp as the eagle's eye. His stories told in his deep-lined face speaks of times when no man can replace. He knows each canyon, each winding trail, where the coyotes cry and the eagles sail. No neon lights, no city streets, just open land and leathered seats. The world moves fast, forgets the past, but he holds on and he makes it last. Through dying stars and moonlit streams, he carries forth the cowboy dream. And when the dust reclaims his name, and when the fire burns his final flame, the prairie winds will hum a tune, the cowboy song beneath the moon. That's the only one I don't name a name. I don't know how that happened. And this is the one for Rick. And I really struggled writing one about Rick, which is kind of funny. I think so many things about him at one time. I kind of had to play with it. And this one's the Ballad of Rick and Zeta. Oh, Rick was a cowboy, wild and free, riding the range with nary a worry. Till one fateful night at the Rocket Cafe, he met Miss Zeta. Oh, and his heart was swept away. She had dark green eyes and a sassy grin, made Rick's head spin like the Texas wind. He tips his hat and he said, "Howdy, ma'am." She laughed and she said, "Sit down if you think you can." Before he could woo her with his cowboy charm, a tiny whirlwind grabbed her arm. Mom, I spilled my Sprite." Rick blinked twice and he said, "Well, now, who is this little tyke?" "That's little Zoll," she said, "and he's 6 years old." Then another kid appeared fierce and bold, "And that's Zaylee, and she is 7 years old." And Rick took a step back and he swallowed real hard. This isn't what my love life I had planned from the start. No campfire tunes, no moonlit embraces, just Legos, tantrums, and spaghetti-stained faces. But damn if Zeta didn't shine in that light. And those kids sure did look like fun. And old Rick took a breath and he squared up his stance and he looked at Zeta and he said, "All hell, let's dance." Now Rick's riding ponies in a minivan seat, cooking up pancakes instead of grilled meat. His lasso now swings at a runaway shoe, but he swears on his hat he wouldn't undo. For love ain't just sunsets and rodeo charm. Sometimes it's goldfish crumbs and bedtime alarms. So here's to old Rick who never did flee, the cowboy who tamed a whole family. Rick, whenever I read that one, he came to the event and he was like, "You want me writing any more poems about me? It gets me embarrassed." He really did like it though. I was watching him; he was grinning. This one we're called "My Heroes Are Cowboys," and so I guess I'll start here. My heroes were all cowboys, riding high and free, dust on their boots, wild as the West used to be. They tamed the frontier with grit and with lead, but time rolls on, and now they're all dead. I watched them in saloons, spitting out fate, cards in their hands, never folding too late. They tipped their hats with a slow Texas nod, living by honor, living by God. They rode under the sunsets, gold burning bright, gunfights at dawn, legends made at night. They sang by the fire, whiskey in hand, kings of the prairie, lords of the land. But that West ain't so wild, the dust is all settled. Their stories now echoes, their saddles disheveled, the ranches are shrinking, and the 6 guns are rust. Their bones turn to memories, ashes to dust. My heroes were cowboys, tough as old leather. Through storms and through gunfire, they had it together. But time took them on, one by one. So it's said, my heroes were all cowboys, and now they're all dead. And that is it for today's poetry. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'm going to locate... I really just want to read that other one because I actually wrote it about all these people that I have been researching on Family Search. And so it's really cool now because I just kind of made up a story based on the headstones in the cemetery, based on what I knew about them, which wasn't a lot. And I wrote a whole, it's a poem, but it's like it's like really a story that rhymes. It's so long. And it's a made up story based on these people in the cemetery. And so I really want to read that one and then talk about those people some more. So that's going to be a different episode. And thanks for joining me again. If you would like to check out my merch, it is Zeta-Owens at Printify.com. Or if you'd like to follow me on social media, it's Zeta Owens on Facebook, or it is Z Mamacita on Instagram, or Bless Your Heart, I'm Talking on Instagram. And thanks, like, review, share, tell me what you think, and have a great week, y'all.